Four candidates running for mayor of Baltimore take the debate stage for the first time at Morgan State University.
WBAL-TV hosted the debate. Mayor Brandon Scott, Sheila Dixon, Thiru Vignarajah, and Bob Wallace sharing their visions for Baltimore with a primary election less than 4 weeks away. Recent polling from Fox 45 News, the Baltimore Sun, and the University of Baltimore show Mayor Scott holding a 3-point lead over Sheila Dixon.
Vignarajah is polling at 10%, Wallace at 4%, with 7% of voters undecided. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. A portion of the debate focused on crime, including staffing issues within the Baltimore Police Department. As of this month, BPD is about 600 officers short.
And the candidates agree the issue is hurting public safety, but they disagree on how to fix it.
This issue is not just a Baltimore City issue. Every police department in the country is struggling with recruitment.
Sure, that's a national problem, but then don't take credit for the things that are happening nationally, and then when things are going wrong, saying, oh, that's a national problem.
Right now, the police department, the morale is low. They are discouraged, and they need someone who's going to be able to manage, lead them, and have them be a part of the process as we move forward.
No question we have a gap in the number of officers. One of the biggest deterrents to crime is the presence of officers.
Well, the first question was about juvenile crime and how the city handles young offenders.
Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost sat in on this debate. She takes us through the candidates' comments and what was not discussed.
This forum did not have many tense moments between the four candidates on this stage. We ultimately got an overview on their thoughts on some of the key issues. But after a little deeper dive into some of these topics, we still had some unanswered questions. On the Morgan State University campus,
Thank you for joining us tonight. We will hear from the top Democratic candidates.
The top four polling Democratic candidates for mayor squaring off as the election season heats up. The first question, one of the biggest topics in Baltimore, juvenile crime. And most candidates agree education and criminal activity are related, but they call for tougher penalties on young offenders.
Maybe some young people are not currently squeegeeing, but they're stealing cars versus squeegeeing in some cases. We have to go back on what's happening in the home as well in the school. We can talk about statistics, but if we don't get to the root of what's happening in our community, we're going to be losing more residents to Baltimore County and other surrounding counties.
Today, carjackers, robbers, auto thefts committed by children, committed by youthful offenders are being treated like you're stealing bubble gum from the cafeteria. These are crimes, and we're condemning these young men and young women to a life of crime because we're not teaching them that there have to be consequences for that conduct.
If they're old enough to commit the crime, they're old enough to do the time. We cannot have a city that allows this lawlessness to continue and to hurt our citizens. Being poor and being in poverty does not give you the right to hurt somebody or take someone's life.
But Mayor Brandon Scott leaning heavily on his own violence reduction plan.
We know that when I presented this comprehensive plan, it's the first time it had been done in Baltimore's history in 2021. We know that the state, our partners at the state, DJS, that my opponent just mentioned, is modeling one of their programs that is dealing with chronic youth offenders after my group violence reduction strategy. We're going to support them in the Thrive program.
Speaking of the mayor's crime strategy, a key piece to it is the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, or MONSE, and a program it oversees, Safe Streets. MONSE continues to expand, and the funding comes in part from the one-time federal government funding from the American Rescue Plan. These topics were not brought up during the latest forum, so we followed up with Mayor Scott's team after, asking, how does Mayor Scott plan to fund MONSE and the expansion of the office after the ARPA dollars run out? The mayor's office telling Fox 45 News in part, the administration is, quote, proactively engaging in planning to sustain the agency's evidence-based work initially funded by ARPA and the level of service delivery Baltimoreans have come to expect. With Safe Streets, the violence intervention program Fox 45 News has been investigating for years, there remain lingering questions about how the employees, which are hired by the nonprofits running each location, are screened to ensure criminal activity is left in their past. So we also asked the mayor's office, Has Mayor Scott updated any screening policies to ensure employees are not committing crimes while employed by Safe Streets? The mayor's office says the hiring process has already been standardized, and anyone found involved in wrongdoing will be held accountable. Meanwhile, Mayor Scott points to his partnership with several leaders at levels of government, but he does not point to Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates, who successfully ran on a tough on crime platform, ousting former top prosecutor Marilyn Mosby, who pushed her non-prosecution policies for crimes she deemed lower level. In Baltimore, U.S. Attorney for Maryland Eric Barron took office in October 2021. Looking at this data from Baltimore police, you can see a dip in homicides after Barron announced his Al Capone style of prosecution, sending a clear message to criminals in the city that the federal government was taking gun violence seriously. And just a few months later, Bates took office. Unlike previous summer spikes in homicides, fewer people died in the summer after Bates took office and teamed up with Barron. The partnership between Mayor Scott and Bates remains strained, stemming from his dispute over Bates' citation docket, something he rolled out to enforce quality of life crimes.
Do you believe Mayor Brandon Scott is directing his police department not to participate in the citation docket?
Oh, without a doubt.
That's something Worley denies.
I know that puts you in a sticky situation. Is it true?
That is not true.
And Mayor Brandon Scott?
If he has a problem with how BPD is operating, he should come to their boss.
The citation docket also not brought up during the mayoral forum on Morgan's campus. So we followed up with the mayor's team again asking, does Mayor Scott support the citation docket? In response, the mayor's office says Mayor Scott supports citations as one of BPD's tools, adding, quote, however, the mayor does not believe that success or failure can be judged simply by the number of citations written.
Right now, polling indicates this is a two-person race between Mayor Brandon Scott and Sheila Dixon. Only voters will ultimately decide who they want to put inside City Hall to be a leader and a partner to other leaders in Baltimore as the city continues to try and break the cycle of violent crime. In the newsroom, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
The candidates were asked about the city's struggling school system. All four of them addressed a separate issue. Bob Wallace says he would ask Baltimore City School CEO Dr. Sonia Santelises and the school board to step down. Thiru Vignarajah brought up the high absentee rate, saying getting kids to school needs to be a priority. Project Baltimore found when Dr. Santelises took over as CEO, 23% of city students were chronically absent. By 2022, that number increased to 58%, the highest in the state. Sheila Dixon said she would take a more hands-on approach when it comes to city schools, pointing out the power the mayor has over the school system.
The mayor has 7 of the 9 board members. The mayor should be actively involved with the schools.
And while the mayor does not have authority over the city school CEO, the mayor does have some power over the school system. They appoint the majority of the school board and approve the school system's budget. The city funds about 28% of the school's budget. Now, Mayor Brandon Scott says the school system is finally getting the funding it needs, saying it had long been underfunded.
We finally have the resources that Baltimore City Public Schools need. They were underfunded to the tune of $300 million for decades.
This year, city schools received $1.7 billion from taxpayers. It's the largest budget ever. That means the school system is now spending more than $22,000 per student, one of the highest amounts in America for large school systems. But despite this spending, nearly 2/3 of all city schools earned the lowest rating from the state in the largest Maryland report card released in December.
Primary day in Maryland is Tuesday, May 14th. Early voting takes place May 2nd through May 9th. That brings us to our question of the day. Have you decided who you'll support in this year's Baltimore mayoral election? 85% of people who voted say yes. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote to share your response. I'm Kai Jackson. Thank you for watching. Here's another video to watch. Also, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel.